Welcome on this session on material passports. My name is Guido van Capelleveen, researcher at the University of Twente. Today we're going to have a look at material passports. What a material passport is, why it's useful, and what are general challenges that an organization faces once it wants to implement a material passport. So let's take a look. Material passport is actually a sort of an interface to all sorts of life cycle registrations about a single identifiable product. These kind of registrations are typically at different types of organizations and are used to recognize the value for reuse, circular value of these products. There are different types of material passports. Many of the passports originate from different types of industries. For example, in a car manufacturing industry, a typical process industry, we see that at different phases of the life cycle, there are typical registrations regarding that product, your car. As a customer, you may want to know what happened in the manufacturing stage, but also maybe at a use stage. All this kind of information is collected in the material passport that is about your car. We also see examples, for example, in the building industry, where the material passport concerns the registration, all sorts of registrations about your house. So where does this material passport come from? Well, it's a kind of a recent concept that came to mind, but its origins are even far back, somewhere in the 80s, but more recently gained popularity. And it had all to do with the type of registrations that one may now take a look at. Previously, we looked at labeling products based on their, for example, manufacturing phase. For each product, there was a similar type of label. But for example, with a material passport, we can also say something about the individual product. And that concept, with all sorts of technical innovations, for example with sensors, now becomes more relevant, and that's what we see back. If we look at the contents of a material passport, then we see practically three different types of things that are provided by a material passport. First of all, there's a lot of data registrations. For example, the life expectancy of a product. On the other hand, we see performance indicators. They tell you something about the state of the product and how well it is for the environment, or what is its impact. And finally, we see that these material passports provide some kind of toolings that can help you to understand what might happen if you change something on the particular product. For example, if you change a particular component of the product, what would it do to the circularity of that product. If we look at the contents, a typical content is also that it contains some kind of drawings, a composition of the physical attributes that an object consists of. We also see that in a lot of these material passports that there's a use of service history, for example with the use of your car, that it says that your tire has been replaced, but also guidelines, for example, for disassembly are adopted in material passports. When we think of a material passport, we think also of a supply chain. And with a supply chain, there are many actors. And each of these actors may have an involvement with the material passport. They may either provide data, or use data, or both. If we look from the perspective of a product, we see that a product goes through different phases, typically regarded as the extraction phase, manufacturing phase, transportation phase, the usage and maintenance phase, and the disposal phase. And we see that each of these actors might have different incentives on using particular information or providing particular information, or may not have an incentive to provide information. So it's good to have a balance or incentives for each of the actors to make a material passport successful. Now, to make a material passport work for a company, we need to make agreements within the supply chain. It's important to have some kind of standardization of the language that we use to address certain things. And for that we need digital libraries of components that can be used in products. But also we need some kind of a unique number to address which object that we're talking about. On the other hand, we need sensors to collect a lot of data, and we need to think about things like ownership or the way how we deal with confidentiality or integrity of data in such a way that what we register is also of high quality. Finally, we have to think about profitability for everyone, or the legislative regulations that can help to make a material passport successful. Thank you for watching and good luck with the rest of the sessions.